Hello. This solo episode, we're going to talk through how much of my deconstruction journey was shaped by the music of Paramore and how I relate to Hayley Williams, I guess, in particular, and her lyrics. The topic with my next featured guest is music and culture. And so I'm excited to interview him about this. And it kind of prompted me to think a little bit more about and make this video here. So before I get into these songs, I've got 3 songs I wanted to share and talk through the lyrics. I've got a book actually that I wanted to share that I found really helpful personally and professionally. It's by a man named James Fowler, and it's called Stages of Faith, A Psychology of Human Development and the Quest for Meaning. My job title where I work is the head of spiritual formation, so you can see how a book like this would be pretty useful in that role. Let me give you a briefest overview with some important notes about this book. Fowler theorizes that the spiritual journey of each individual can be mapped out relatively predictably. And I'll use this cool little graphic here if you're watching along to show you the different stages as I go. Stage 1, we have as intuitive projective, spirituality defined mostly by parental behavior and attitudes. Fantasy and reality often become confused at this stage. We're thinking like really quite young children taking what religious values and spirituality their parents give to them. On to next stage. Mythical literal is kind of like, I think, primary school kind of age for this one. People begin to think logically, but tend to understand the stories of their faith community in extremely literal ways. So good to know that this is a normal stage of development for kids, and that we have to be careful that they're thinking about things quite literally and not to break that apart too early for them. The next stage, synthetic conventional, and this is when things start to get a little bit interesting, particularly for adults. This kind of begins, you'd say, in adolescence, probably high school kind of age, and often beyond. People find it difficult to think outside of their religious box. They tend to accept the authority of their faith tradition absolutely. And something that he mentions, Fowler, that's really interesting, he believes that probably more than 50% of religious people will stay in this stage for the rest of their lives, never progressing. Huge reason for this is fear, which will become apparent when we go through this next stage. But it's scary and it's uncomfortable to progress past where your faith community and traditions are absolute and certain. It's safe to rest in that certainty, and our brains have to do a lot of work when we feel a bit unsure. They love to be sitting at rest with, I'm sure about this, I'm sure about this. So next stage, stage 4, individual reflective. People begin to critically examine and question their beliefs. During this stage, they often become disillusioned with their religious traditions. This stage is widely known as deconstruction, I think, and it can feel really lonely. I feel like for me it was quite lonely. It's quite cynical, as a lot of people don't like how cynical you can be if you're being disillusioned with your previous religious traditions, and that also leads to the loneliness. It's the stage where people lose their faith. So it's a bit of a risk. You can see why it'd be a bit scary for people, and why the majority won't actually get to this stage. Why would I risk losing everything that keeps me safe, my community, the things that I'm certain about? Stage 5, interesting one. It's called conjunctive. People begin to realize the limits of logic and accept paradox. They often return to sacred stories, but with a appreciation for mystery. And it makes sense that this stage, like reconstruction kind of stage, also quite beautiful to think that people coming back to these sacred stories with a new appreciation, a bit of a renewed faith, something a little bit different. And then the last stage, universalizing. Those who reach this final rare stage are able to fully integrate their faith into their lives, serving others and valuing community over self. This is like Gandhi. This is like Mother Teresa. This is like pretty rare that people come out and this is their this is their life, their faith. Interesting to think about. But I suppose it's important to say that the idea isn't to race through these stages and kind of keep leveling up. Rather, it's more of a awareness thing. Like for me, I think I keep dipping back into the reflective and the deconstructive stage while still being in a bit more of reconstruction. But I'm not pushing myself like crazy to keep moving forward at all costs. That will happen as I learn, as I grow, as I talk with more people, bring you guys more podcasts. So on to Paramore, and more accurately onto Hayley Williams' journey. I'd like to do a bit of mapping out of her journey and show how I think it aligned with mine at different points. So here's a clip of her talking from like 18 years ago. She grew up in Mississippi. She's got a super conservative Southern Baptist roots.
I'm really learning how to do that on the road because your routine changes every day. You can't say, well, I'm going to put God here in the morning before I eat breakfast. I'm going to worship him there. Like, I'm learning how to not need a routine, and it's something that we're all learning. Like we always say before we go out on tour, we're going to do Bible studies and we're going to do this, and it's really tough.
And the first song I want to talk about is from the banger Riot album. It's called Let the Flames Begin. So let's run through the lyrics of this chorus. I love this song, and it resonated with my evangelical early 2000s kid persecution kink. I think that a lot of people did. They're trying to get us, trying to take us down. Persecution. Here for the glory of God. This is how we'll dance when they burn our houses down. Isn't just we're going to endure persecution. It's reveling in it. It's giving persecution like some kind of heroic quality. And I was always taught to cherish the Bible verse about the world hating you for not being of the world. I think this verse is a bit more about how it's difficult to live successfully in a world that's about exploiting others when you'd rather live by the Christ-like example of protecting people. And when you do that, then it's unusual in the world and it can be a bit hated. So I don't think it's got anything to do with Christian persecution. I'm so persecuted. Anyway, great song, but terrible message unless you're like 17-year-old me who loves thinking about how much glory I will receive for my persecution. At the time, though, that was the stage I was in, so it made sense that I was fearing stepping out of my traditions and taking them all super literally. So let's go to the second song, which is, I would say, the beginning of the deconstruction. It's called Turn It Off, and it's from the album Brand New Eyes. I'd always thought that this album title probably was like a nod to Hayley beginning to see the world with brand new eyes, which is kind of a cool image. And it starts straight. The lyrics, it gets straight into it. I scraped my knees while I was praying. So you already know, okay, this song's, it's got some religious undertones here. It's a super honest song. And I vividly remember my sadness when I first heard it in the album. I was like, it's happened. She's lost her faith. How sad. She's going to hell. Oh no. But let's listen to the first verse. It's actually phenomenal.
I scraped my knees while I was praying and found a demon in my safest haven. Seems like it's getting harder to believe in anything than just to get lost in all my selfish thoughts. I wanna know what it'd be like to find perfection in my pride, to see nothing in the light, or turn it off in all my spite, in all my spite. I'll turn it off.
So this is the story of the deconstructed evangelical. We were taught that there was a king on a throne, a loud ruling power. But when we looked up, we found that that throne was far more empty than we were taught. The rules felt cold, they felt distant, And in my spite, I've often wished to do my best to turn the light off. There's like a particular venom that sits within me for the church and that old style of doctrine that's empty and it's damaging, particularly to young people. And then we hit the chorus of this song, and oh my God, it's just more poetry, more honesty.
And the worst part is, before it gets any better, we're headed for a cliff. And in the free fall, I will realize I'm better off when I hit the bottom.
I think it's speaking to the fear that is felt when you first start that individual reflective stage of critically analyzing everything. It's not comfortable. It gets a lot worse before it gets better. And the whole time you know that at some point you're going to hit the bottom, which is going to be pain. It's going to be loss. It's going to be grief for what you once knew, to be sure. And the only solace really is that you're going to come through the other side better off. Doesn't feel very good at the time though. That leads us to song number 3, which fittingly happened to be released something like 16 years later. So it's not a short spiritual journey. It's not a quick process, this whole deal. Granted, I don't like this song musically as much. I think that there's probably something to be said about the music that we listen to when we're adolescents. Like, that will always form a special part of me, that genre of music. But I really love listening to this song and seeing that Hayley doesn't resonate with the version of Christianity that she inherited, but it doesn't detract from her journey. The chorus goes,
I'm the one who still loves your ghost. I reanimate your bones, 'cause I'm a true believer.
So I think she's describing how the old structure of her faith has died, and she's searching through the remains for something worth resurrecting. It's funny because a lot of people would look at this new Hayley and this new Paramore, and they're not going to be up on stages talking about Bible studies and that kind of thing. That it might seem a lot less Christian, but there's something quite prophetic and like there's some biblical language that she uses in this song. She talks about how the South will not rise again until it's paid for all its sins, and she even references fruit of the Spirit. And I resonate with this new Hayley and this new Paramore so much. She's been through many years of uncertainty and come to value what remains of her faith journey, still referencing parts of it, wanting to resurrect what is actually worth believing, all the while harshly critiquing the parts that need to die. And I guess to conclude this episode, to wrap things up, I have a real appreciation for being a deconstructed Christian person, in particular the gentleness that this brings to my new faith. I don't miss certainty as much as I thought I might. Deconstruction didn't make me love Jesus less. It made me see him more in the people around me. So what do you think? Have I thought too deeply and projected my own journey into Paramore's lyrics? Possibly. I do that. Let me know in the comments and like and subscribe and all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one.